Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, June 2nd, 2020. I hope that you are staying safe and sound in these times of pandemic and civil unrest. So I know I'm trying to do my best here on the Rancho. We're under a curfew here at 8 p.m. and we will be under curfew through Thursday night here in Santa Rosa. Given the unrest of Saturday and Sunday night with a bit of property damage, but compared to other cities, I think we're doing okay here. Observations from the front lines and in the midst of protests has given me a unique vantage point to draw some conclusions about these protests, some that you may have drawn yourself by watching on TV, and the feeling of also the police gauging the police response and the signals that are being sent to people. This is not 1968 where once things got out of hand, in a place like Baltimore where I grew up, the National Guard was employed. They came in and they were tough. They were very, very tough. The 17th Airborne out of, I believe, North Carolina. And when they came marching in, people knew it was no nonsense with the way that they handled the situation, and things were quickly quelled. It's a different era now. I recognize that. But you must recognize now that protesting is one thing and mayhem is something altogether different. And having been in these crowds in Oakland, California, where things turned ugly, and in Santa Rosa, California, where things turned ugly, there's definitely a theme that runs through these gatherings, the gatherings that the press can construe it one way as people protesting, and other people will see it another way as just giving a cover for mayhem, looting, and unfortunately death, as we saw overnight in Las Vegas, and police being injured. The problem in my mind is when you have these protests, they have several layers to them, like a cake, okay? At the base level, of course, is police protests against police brutality and the way that police handle their duties. And this varies all around the nation, as we know. It's the right of independence and that's afforded states and cities in running their own shows. So we see strong responses in some places with consequential minor looting and things, and then in other places we see a atmosphere of almost let things vent until they run their course. If you're a business owner, which I'll get to, it's very disconcerting, the second course of action, because most police adhere to the motto of to protect and to serve. So it's been a difficult situation. But in these protests, I've observed the first layer of the cake is what I call people that are genuinely invested in the cause. They're out there because they believe that the cause that they're protesting is right. They come in, there's a prescribed limit usually for organized protests. I know here in Santa Rosa on the order of 2 hours, also in Oakland, and at the end of that they march peacefully down the streets, they carry their signs, and then they're done. They tend to disperse. They don't really want any part of the mayhem that is occurring because they know it tarnishes protests with a bad name. The second layer of that, I would say, is you have professional agitators that come in, and I'm not going to get into which organizations they come from. There's a lot of people with vested hatred against the system here in this nation, and they have the ability to organize through social media, which could be part of the problem too, the instantaneous communications and flash mobs that can result from that. There's a lot of opportunism. There's a lot of fanning the flames, and a lot of that is not done on just a random basis, in my opinion. it is calculated to keep things moving along towards some ultimate goal of instability, insurrection, and anarchy, which really in the history of the world has never benefited anybody. The third layer, as we saw in Oakland and Santa Rosa, was the opportunists that come along that have no vested interest in the protest. They have no interest in what the themes are of the day. Their whole interest is to be out there to take advantage of a stretched police force and a situation where they have a lot of cover with a lot of moving pieces on the board, with a lot of people moving around different places, breaking off in splinter groups. It's a lot to monitor. And it's like the old shell game, right? There's a pea under one of those three shells, but it's moving around all over the place, and it's difficult for the police and law enforcement, National Guard, to keep an eye on everything. So there's a lot of misdirection that occurs amongst this particular group. So you have those three layers to the cake. Now, unfortunately, what's happening now is the first layer of the cake, the legitimate protesters, may be about stable in terms of numbers. The second layer, the agitators, is probably growing. And the third layer, the top layer of the cake, the professional mayhem doers, looters, rioters, they were a rapidly expanding part of that cake. And the reason is because of the way that police are standing and facing this particular group of people. If you have a business and you've been looted, oftentimes you're left to wonder. You'll watch the video, you'll watch the TV, the YouTube coverage, et cetera, Fox News, CNN. And you'll see looting taking place, often with police just standing around. It's a very disconcerting sight. And as I talked about several days ago, I predicted that there would be a strong and growing pushback against what I call civilized society, the business community, and those who have been negatively impacted by these riots on top of COVID-19. They're angry, and they're going to gain their voice, and we'll probably begin to have the pendulum swing the other way, with letting from things taking their course now to moving to more strong arm intervention tactics. It's, as I said, it's terrible to be able to watch and see the results of your own shop being looted. It's understandable if there's no police around, but imagine that the police are just standing there and kind of watching windows being broken, and there may be a fear of further agitation, but what's happening is that third layer of the cake of looting and mayhem is growing as a result of the signal that's sent out that it's basically a free-for-all, where you can do whatever you want and you will enjoy the same police protections as people that are protesting. A really, really bad signal to be sent for sure. So expect a much larger and expanding dialogue, as I predicted, on a pushback against, observation on the part of a lot of police departments to a call for action. Okay, everybody, that's my view for today. Have yourselves a wonderful Tuesday. Stay safe. Remember to mask up when you go out. We don't know what the results will be in the spread of COVID-19 in relation to all these groups coming together. It remains to be seen. Thanks for watching.